What's up, YouTube class? Another amazing set of videos today. I had to admit, I cried as you guys read The Apple of Trees. A lot of good questions. So I want to try to answer some of those. What is Apple of Trees? Uh, it's a history of trees with bad apples. Um, I was highlighting what I was seeing as my son being the fruit of my life and my family's life when we lived through hate and violence. A lot of good questions about whether it's my fault and, 50-50. And I would love to continue to beat myself up because naturally the shame and the guilt of this massive failure that I was as a father is a burden to carry. But I also recognize that that type of energy robs me of doing the good that I'm meant to do for others, including my son. It's not that I don't deserve to feel that way, it's that I can't afford to feel that way. It's not natural for me not to feel that way, so I have to remind myself to stay positive, to look forward. In order to find new lands, you have to lose sight of the shore behind you. My son was 11 years old when I got out of prison and tried to intervene. Um, and he was just turning 17 when he was sentenced to 11 years in prison. The reality is, I feel that I am 100% responsible for not being there for my son and for the time when I was there, showing him such a poor example of living. By the time I got out, so much damage had been done that I was literally working against myself when trying to deal with my son. It is true, my son made a decision that changed his life, and he could have made many other decisions. But the reality is, I impacted him in a great way, and so did his mother, and so did his grandmother, and so did his uncle, and so did my friends. A lot of influences went into shaping and carving him out this way. There's evidence that people can be under the same influence and still make a different choice, so that's where he becomes responsible, knowing that he could have made some different choices, but the reality is he wasn't set up to. An apple of trees is just my way of saying he comes from a legacy of hate and violence. It is time to plant new orchards, new seeds, bear fruit that's worth eating, worth sharing, worth having. My son is struggling to find himself, to integrate into society in a different way than he ever has. So his grandmother died while he was in prison, and I know that's affected him deeply. We're trying to do as much as we can to help him. I want to take over his life and shape him in such a way, but that wouldn't be fair to him. When you try to take over someone else's life because you fear that they cannot, what you are really saying to them is that I don't think you can handle your own life. And that's a very damaging statement. And so at best, what I can afford to do for him is attempt to encourage him, let him know I'm behind him 100%, do as much as I can to support him, let him know. Constant communication there. The shame and guilt is overwhelming at times. Every time I read that chapter and I hear those words and I know I relive his life, picking him up from prison was excruciating. But at the same time, I recognize that I'm giving him something else to look at, another way. I have lit the path for him to find his way out if he wants it. Yeah, I want you to recognize that any one of you could have been my child. As I've always said, this is your story, as well as mine, as well as my son's. And the more you spend time talking about it, the more likely you are to find your own way out of your own dark path and onto a better path. Whether you put yourself there or someone put you there, or whether it's a mix of both of those. So today's message about the apple of trees is that we don't have to continue to bear fruit that is spoiled. But out of spoiled fruit, many good things can come if you decide to pick through there and find the seeds that are still worth saving. You guys have touched me again. I love you. I miss you dearly. I wish you well. Talk to you soon.